Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings from this particular basement, I guess. Point of view. Anyway, so I couldn't post last week's video on this channel because YouTube was doing some kind of fake security risk bullshit. Where they just want to glean more stuff. They want more information. They want to have your cell phone, and they want to know more details about your life because they can sell all that information they can glean from it. And so it doesn't have anything to do with my security or the security of the account. It really just has to do with YouTube wanting to monetize my existence. And it's just it's really disgusting. Anyway, I mean, the irony is that I had to actually give my personal information, my password and all that stuff. I had to give it to somebody else so they could verify them, so that would verify me. Yeah. So now it's not even genuine information anymore, and I've had to do exactly what you wouldn't want to do if you wanted to secure your account, which is distribute your password anywhere. So just really stupid. But anyway, just part of the system. So this image is, yes, it's a little shocking. Yes, whoa. Me likey though. I could add things to it. So while we're on that subject, let me just finish up. So yeah, I have solved the graphics card problem. It was the fan wasn't working. So I put another fan in the box and now everything's okay. Just for those who are concerned. And what else? Yeah, so who knows? My account still has 2 strikes on it. It could be blown up at any minute, but whatever. It's functioning on the internet in the cancel culture environment. Just isn't a good place. You can't depend on anything. There's no principles running the world anymore. Anyway. So yes, so now we can go to this. Yeah. So I'll post these links below. So these were posted to the last video on the other channel because I couldn't post it here. Okay. And so they're really, they're not okay. This one I could probably. I mean, see this even Firefox. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but this doesn't work. I mean, I should be able to open the link in a new tab. I mean, this is just too stupid. But anyway, review. Yes, well, you're going to force me to because you won't let me open the link in a new tab. So annoying. So anyway, so it's another, just spooky image. Anyway, just illustrating the matrix that we're in and that it's basically evil. I like the representing the DNA as a Nazi flag. That's kind of nice. Anyway, but yeah, So anyway, so there are 3 really interesting images. So I'll leave links to them. So it's that's what I'll do. I wonder if I can go back now. I can't go back. I guess it's still here. Yeah, it's still here. All right. So what else I want to say about that? Yeah, that's about it. So it's the SK guy, so same person who did the other DNA image that's under here now, right? Yeah, there. Anyway, so really interesting. Thought-provoking and such. Triggering. Yeah, it does what it's supposed to do. Alright, so, but maybe we'll go back to that. Well, I can't go back to that image, and I don't think I can freeze the other one. But, though, just little changes I'd make, in terms of, I mean, I had to blot out some pieces, obviously. It's, YouTube might flag me, so I had to blur the significant bits. So anyway, so yeah, I would have like umbilical cords. See, they have knives here and cut the cords. And just have that more obvious, and then have people, maybe the kids, climbing out of the grinder, and it's all covered with blood and it's slimy, and you have to climb out, and your whole life is going to be basically, grabbing other people and pulling on them. And you're going to use other people in your life, and other people are going to try to use you. And there's all this disgusting manipulations that go on in the world, and you could really see it, when you get to like, the whole corporate world and all that kind of stuff, where there's all kinds of shenanigans and usury and just as nihilistic and selfish as you can get in terms of what's in it for me, and disposing of other people. I mean, the worst kind of Roman spectacle. And that's part of the discussion, is that we're supposed to be above that. We're supposed to be have achieved some point where we're above finding that kind of spectacle compelling. I don't know who auto racing. I used to watch some of it because yes, you kind of I suppose I had a couple of people to root for. AJ Foyt or something, I think his name was. I always sort of liked old guys, who should have retired, and you kind of root for them to have one last, glorious day. But anyway, stupid reasoning. I'm just saying, it's just this thing you do because of bad habit. But I have to say that the only thing that made auto racing interesting was let's see somebody wipe out. Frankly, I mean, if there was no crashes in the race, it was just, oh, that was boring, kind of thing. And we're supposed to be above that. But the real point is I stated it in a comment. We're still dumb animals, and we just have this new feature. The dumb animal never died. It's just that we added the smart animal. That is, we added the computer, the processing bit that can do. Because we're given information about how the world works, we can understand why boats float and different things, and so we can understand not to tip it over because we know how it works. So we can do this computery bit, where we can predict the future and we can predict outcomes much better than the typical, dumb animal has just to rely on impulses. But the other dumb animals are doing the same thing. They learn. I mean, they learn, that sidewalks are not muddy, and so let's, if I have to run somewhere, I'll run on the sidewalk. They'll learn things, and so they're doing the same thing we do. It's just that we have a greater capacity to store all this stuff, and we have the language advantage and vocabulary and all of that crap to make it possible for us to store even information outside of our own brain, so we can put it on the internet or some other place, and therefore be able to take advantage of it anytime we want. We can answer the question. We can find an answer to a question. But our motivations are basically still dumb animal motivations. We're still triggered in these visceral ways. I have to show you blood, or I have to show you something disgusting for you to understand that it's disgusting. If I just describe it, oh, there's a spear and it goes through, it's not so much. If I force you to try to visualize it, let's say. But some of those might be easy. I mean, I could say, oh, it's like he has a face like Godzilla. You'd all know what Godzilla looks like, and you say, yeah, okay, I get that. So some images, I can use words and they'll mean something to you, but other things, not so much. Won't be the same as seeing it. Seeing will be believing, experiencing it. I could describe somebody's death, right? But actually being in the room, watching it, watching the struggle to breathe and the vacant look in the eyes and all that, if I actually seeing it is a little bit different. It's gonna squeeze on you a little harder, and it might be a memory that'll stay in your brain for the rest of your life. And now be part of the context. So every time you see something like Oh, that looks like that guy I used to know, who was, a bartender at Joe's. You'll be triggered. And part of that is just what this whole conversation is about, is the fact that a lot of people have, the gun needs oil. Okay, they're triggered by almost nothing. Their gun, there's just no coherency in their function in the world. They haven't really seen that they're in a matrix, or they're in a machine, or they're in a mechanism, and that they're functioning as a little bit in this system. And they really don't take any accountability for that. I mean, I saw somebody yesterday that just did something, it was just so stupid, and you're just saying, how do they function in life? I mean, they double parked on a two-way street, and there's cars on both sides, and they double parked and basically blocked the road. So, only the thinnest of cars could get through. And it's first just so rude. And the thing was, is if she would have parked 3 feet back, it would have just widened the gap, and everything would have been okay. It would have been, a truck could have gotten through. Just 3 feet. So it was first that you didn't even know the physics of it. Like, just don't double park in that exact worst location. Double park 3 feet, forward, or 3 feet back. But the fact that she didn't know that mechanic, and that she didn't just couldn't care less that this was just retarded. I mean, that she's just going to block a street, because she wants to go talk to somebody. You're just, wow. Wow, that's really clueless. And so you're just saying that person's living in a world, but it's not the real world. It's their own little, bullshit world of, just bullshit-isms. And then there's, then you listen to some of the conversations people have, and, oh, praise Jesus, yes, Jesus, has been very, very good to me. And, they're living in a cardboard box. I'm just like, come on. It just doesn't make any sense. And no, that's the wrong word. It's stupid. It's just so ignorant and so, disconnected from, having any responsibility to recognize the real world you're in and how it functions. And that's the idiocracy. I mean, that's the people who are breeding tend to be in that category more than in the I'm in the real world category and take some responsibility for the outcomes of what I do. I kind of know that my sewage needs to be treated, and that these different things have to happen, and if they don't happen, the world turns to shit. I know that you have to pave roads, and that you can't drive 70 miles an hour, down a street where, things might pop out into the street. It don't make no sense. Well, that just reminds me, that triggers another thought, because people make statements about, oh, you've said people should be put in concentration camps. Yeah, I'm saying there's some people that are so stupid, right? Their trespasses against logic are so extreme that they can't be unmanaged. And I'm saying, who wants to pay to manage them? Do you want to pay for it? I don't want to pay for it. Do you think they're worth it? Do you think the imbecile, like say the average heroin addict, do you think we all should chip in and spend $100,000 a year to try to manage the heroin addict and keep him from being an asshole? Do you? I don't think you want to pay for that. So yeah, send him to the camp. Forget it. Okay, kill him or send him to a camp. Humanely and nicely just say, you're too silly and too broken, and come on, get real. Do you really think we all should, sacrifice, our skin, to put new skin on you? That we have to sacrifice the quality and of our existence, and our pain and suffering and our risk. We should risk our lives in terms of going to work and doing this and doing all these other things, so we can, fix problems you keep making. you know, you keep being a problem, and you're going to force us to keep doing this over and over. Oh, let's send him to rehab. Oh, let's send him to rehab. You know, come on. What logical person wants to be that kind of parasite? Now, blights that people can't, you know, that there's no performance issue, they're just born broken. You cut them some slack. But again, how bad does it have to be? I mean, how big a, you know, if you were born and you needed $1 million a year spent on you to keep you alive, wouldn't you recognize that, gee, maybe this isn't something I should be doing? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know, there's 7 billion people in the world. I mean, you know, there's kids dying right now in the world because they don't have 50 cents. 50 cents. Yeah, just a fact. They're going blind because they don't have 50 stinking cents. So what are we talking about? Why are we even having the conversation about it? Stupid. It's so stupid. But that will seem harsh and draconian when, well, I mean, nobody will explain how it's not pragmatic and sensible. I mean, how it just doesn't, there is a rational limit to how inefficient we can be. And we can, in fact, you know, spend more, you know, than what you're gaining from everything you do. So, I mean, if it costs you more to go to the store, you know, than it would cost you to grow your own food or some other kind of thing. I mean, the economics are the economics. And there's a point where it doesn't become viable, reasonable, sensible, logical, and such. Ooh. But yes, very nice. You know, just a nice rendering of the grinder. You know. But yes, it needs to be a video. It needs to be a 2-hour movie. Meat grinder. Maybe then it'll stick in people's heads a little bit better, and they'll recognize that, yeah, okay, I see how it all doesn't go anywhere. I mean, you're born, and all you're doing is trying to keep the maze, keep the game from consuming you. Keep yourself in one piece. Try to maintain so you're not disabled, so you're not this, so you're not that. Try to keep yourself from being scarred by your acne and, you know, different things. You know, you're just trying to stop the process from consuming you in some way. And then you know, part of it just becomes, part of the desperation is that, you know, as you get more and more desperate, as you get closer and closer to the blades, you know, you're more and more likely, you know, to pull on somebody else to give yourself some momentum. And you know, you can see that in every piece of how people live. It's so insane. Yeah. You know, I'm so tempted to get into the whole economic thing, and just how insane that has become, and how you can't just create these obligations and this debt stuff without realizing that if the system is ever tested or pushed in just a tiny bit, just a few people more go bankrupt, and the whole thing unravels because there's no real money. There's none of the money has anything real behind it. It's all promises from some future person that we've sold into slavery, some way that somehow in the future they're going to have, they'll make $5, and we've already spent their $5 paying our bills. And so there's no way to ever really pay a bill, because all of it's just running on the fact that it's running, and as soon as it stops moving, it sinks. Something like that. I'm tempted. I won't do it though. Okay, so I'll try to stay on the subject of which sort of was a theme this week, was this art of persuasion. The fact that, you know, I would argue that the truth is not that elusive, and the fact that people have been allowed to be just totally irrational. Like I said, all the God theories are mush. I mean, it's way past time that people become people who have any education at all and have some knowledge of how reality does work. That, you know, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to have people thinking they're driving their life. I'm a very good driver. and they believe insane things about how cars work, and religious people believe insane things about how reality works. It's just plain insanely stupid. It makes them dysfunctional because they think there's some greater purpose and greater rewards and greater all kinds of stuff, and it's not part of the game we're playing. They think it's okay if you lose your money in Las Vegas because there's some special, dealer who's gonna fix it. There's no fixing it. You're not gonna get your house mortgage back, and all that kind of stuff. So your deed. It's just insanely poor reasoning. You can't, like I said, it's not even reasoning. They don't even think they're obligated to be reasonable. This whole idea of faith, belief without reason, without good reason, without some logical reason. Just because this is what we do. We just believe, and by believing, we believe it. I mean, if you just believe it, then you don't have to believe it. You can just believe it. Anyway. Well, I'll take a little break and try to get on the subject. A lot of distractions this week. Sorry. A little less than focused. Less than in focus. Alright, should be back. Alright, so another thing, YouTube annoying features, these comments that it makes disappear, and you have to actually do this sort by thing and hit newest first, and all of a sudden other comments show up. I mean, why doesn't YouTube explain that this is how the features work? They don't even give you any reason to know that's what you have to do to see all the comments. All the ones that they'll show you. Again, there'll still be some that are hidden. anyway. So, it's not that this comment is worth reading in the sense that a lot of idiots confuse antinatalism with pro-mortalism. Yes, that somehow to solve the problem of, that is preventing the babies being born, that somehow you have to kill people. And so there's lots of people that confuse sex with procreation. Like, nobody's allowed to have sex anymore to be antinatalist, which is really stupid also. So there are really dumb accusations. Now, I would say that, frankly, I don't really care about the whole distinction between preventing by making go away. Again, if the planet Earth blew up, with me included, I wouldn't object. Frankly, I wouldn't mind if I would probably like to encourage, if there were aliens, for them to do the right thing and just admit we're too stupid. And we have all this information and most of us are still believing in angels and fairies and pixies and gremlins. Yeah, it's way too late. Their favorite holiday is Halloween. Come on, it's way past where we're way into the rotten phase, not the it's growing phase. We're not growing, we're rotting. It's moldy, Earth is moldy, and they should just sanitize it, clean it up. Don't let it spread, certainly. But anyway, we don't want every human being on the planet Earth to suddenly drop dead. Well, maybe you don't want it, but frankly, I'm both. I'm both ethicist and for prevention. And I don't really give a shit. Human beings are not worth saving, and that's just the truth. If we're Martians, it doesn't matter what planet you put us on. Okay, we're assholes, and that's just a fact. But for a mandatory sterilization, so again, you don't have to do any of this mandatory thing. Okay, now the animals you're going to have to sterilize, or you're going to have to just in an instant discontinue their storytelling. But frankly, there's no reason to even bring up sterilization and all this kind of crap, because the number of humans, okay, that you have to get down to, the population you have to get down to for it to be where you need an absolute zero, increase. You know, I mean, absolutely zero babies being produced. The whole point is, as soon as you go below 2, you're already heading for extinction. So you're already doing it. You've done your job. So as long as the average woman has less than 2 kids, we already have won. Okay, in terms of getting down to 100 people. You know, it will happen. You'll eventually get to 100. Now, when you get to 100, that's when you're going to have to start making sure nobody starts breaking the rules. Okay. But even at 100, it still works. I mean, I'm just saying it. So again, so you're sort of making one of the same mistakes they're making in terms of thinking that you have to mandatorily sterilize people to get to the goal, when no, all you really have to do is a tiny percentage of the population, the ones having 10 kids, they're the real problem. So the ones that are really breaking the proportion, you know, the ones really creating the idiocracy, the ones having the creating all the kids who aren't well enough raised to be civilized humans. I mean, it's a huge problem for a tiny percentage of the population are creating the problem. It's like the tiny percentage of people who are criminals, and you know, they make such a mess and are so expensive. And you know, why are we tolerating that? And the same could be said for these people that are just outrageously irresponsible in their procreation. All right, so there's a huge difference between killing vast amounts of people. You know, I'm not for killing vast amounts of people in some sort of let's stab them in the eye, you know, kind of way. But anyway, and telling them they can't impose sentient life to wage slavery and suffering. Yes, there is a distinction, and I don't even think you have to say it that way. You just have to say that to make babies, okay, you have to have a permit. You know, you have to show you have to show an environmental impact statement that you have taken care of it. You know, that you're covered, that you have insurance, and you know that when things go bad, you know, your little Frankensteins get loose, that you can pay for the damage they create. And all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that would be the responsible thing, is to have laws that say you can't just you know, there's laws that say I can't just decide to raise pigs in my backyard, because the town, the area I live in, has made rules that say that's not going to work out for the other people, and you're not going to be able to clean that up. You're not going to be able to make that so it doesn't hurt other people, and so therefore you can't do it. And that's the same thing. If somebody's going to propose having a family on top of, you know, in their little cardboard shack on top of a giant garbage dump, yeah, they're not going to be able to explain how I got a plan and it's going to work out really cool. No, they don't have a plan, and it's not going to work out really cool. So they should be prevented from doing it. They should be told you can't do that, and if you're going to force the issue, then you know, we'll make you pay a price for it. You know, you'll get the reward and punishment thing. We're certainly not going to reward you for it. We're not going to subsidize you doing it. You know, but you know, we don't have there's too few people who recognize that responsibility is a good thing, and people should take responsibility for the liabilities they create and all that. You know, we just don't have enough. There's way more liars in the world than there are people who hate liars, and that's the problem. So until that balance is caused to change, or let's say the people who are against lying just aren't very passionate about it, and so they just let it all slide, and you know, they have to stop doing that. They have to be they have to be more aggressive if they want the world to change. They can't just believe something and go, oh, isn't that awful, and leave it there. They can't just leave it there. You know, they have to be able to raise their hand at the right time and say, okay, I'll vote for it. You know, and they just aren't doing that in a noticeable way. You know, you have to stand for it. You know, at some point, you have to. Yeah, I mean, look, you could make videos. You know, you could write it down on a piece of paper and leave it on the street. You know, you could do something, you know, to make it understood that you're against it, and that your being against it should matter. I suppose if that was how people made litter, you know, if litter was political, you know, that could be interesting. You know, but then the news would have to show up and report on how much, there's a whole bunch of litter that says, you know, newscasters are shitty journalists, you know. They're just talking for a corporation, you know, just propagandizing for a political cause, you know, as example. Alright, so I don't know if I'm yet on the subject. Oh, I read the comment without showing the page or doing any of that, didn't I? Yeah. See, so you have to hit this stupid sort by, and you have to go news first, or you don't get to see the comment. Just too stupid. And that's because some troll, I imagine, right? The trolls get to run the show, have, you know, spam, you know, pointed out that this comment is spam or something. In some way they've downgraded it, and YouTube thinks it's been legitimately disliked. It has been noticed that there are that the thumbs down went away, but it didn't. It doesn't appear that it has here. So, but yeah, I heard that they're going to get rid of the downvoting bullshit. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, but that's what I heard. So we'll see. Just because it is useless, right? I mean, it's just where the trolls operate. You know, the trolls create these fake accounts and do the fake voting. You know, they're just, you know, they're just such cheaters overtly. They want to have more votes than you. You know, it's such a, they're so obnoxious. You know, and so, you know, that kind of crime, you know, where you're basically overtly saying, I don't care about constitutional shit and principles and all that crap. You know, I'll steal. You know, I'll break the system. That's the system trying to guarantee fairness and equity and all that kind of stuff. And then they'll complain. You know, about anything. They have no right to complain about anything because they're just such overt cheaters. Just terrible. Anyway. Alright. So, yeah, I still want to get to the point, which is somewhere around the idea that this art of persuasion, this game of persuasion, why is it so difficult? Because the facts, from my, I mean, it's just too obvious. Some of these facts are just so obvious that how could any, you know, reasonably functional human being, I mean, that is, somebody knows how to, you know, knows to put my socks on before I put my shoes on. I mean, is knowing that religion are just old fables any different in terms of your level of intelligence? I mean, you need much more intelligence. If you can know to put socks on first and then your shoes, why can't they figure out that these stories don't make any sense? I mean, you know, they're just nonsense, that they could never relate to whatever this God is, because the God is insane. Why is God giving kids cancer? How did they come, what sin, what horrible crime? I mean, giving somebody cancer isn't, you know, a little thing. That's a big thing, okay? That's like the death penalty or something. What crime could you possibly commit where you would say, like, some violation against you? What violation against you could somebody commit where you'd give them fucking cancer? I mean, fuck, it doesn't make any sense. You know, that God doesn't have a plan to gracefully exit us at all. He doesn't give a shit about our pain and all. I mean, why would you believe in a God that indifferent to everything that's really meaningful going on here? How could you believe in that crap? So, I mean, that's a huge one, though. The fact that they still cling to it, even though it makes no logical sense. I mean, it's so silly and wacky, and yet they believe so fervently. And even in a world, like I said, you know, some of us can make the excuse that, well, we grew up in a world where absolutely nobody, you know, ever said anything against the Matrix. You know, there was never even a whisper about, hey, there's a guy called Metamorph, you know, and he's got a whole thing about how this is all a rigged system. You know, so if you never even heard the alternative argument, well, then it's possible maybe you get stuck. But, you know, there's plenty of noise in the environment pointing out how they're lying to you. It's a bullshit story. It's silly, all that kind of, and, you know. So they have plenty of good reason to say, I could switch sides. I don't have to be a member of the, you know, moron club. You know, I don't have to wear it on my sleeve. I'm a stupid, idiotic, superficial, superstitious kook. Well, anyway. Don't really want to argue it just because it's been argued so many ways, and you know it's really been done, and it should have been finished. We should be done with, you know, the religious argument, and then get to the serious argument about, well, you know, is the universe capable of intelligent design? Or does the universe just make things? And if you just make something, if you just glue shit together, is there any real probability that if I just glue, you know, a piece of chalk to this here thing, and then I stick this here cup on it, there, I made something good? You know, what's the odds? Oh yeah, the odds are very thin that anything in the universe could have any positive function. Because there's no rules dictating positive function. There's no mechanism. We're the smartest thing in the universe. We're one of the victims, and we've, you know, in the evolution of the gladiator, one of the tools, you know, besides swords and stuff like that, you know, boots with pointy things on them, besides weapons like that, one of the weapons was intelligence. And now we can use that intelligence to see how we're just pawns in this gladiator war. That we're basically built to be bugs, and being a bug is stupid. You know, there's something, you know, let's not do that. Let's not be bugs. Then that the game we're playing is Meat Grinder. And there's no point in playing a game called Meat Grinder. That's just too stupid. You know, it's too stupid. Too stupid. That's all you should. I mean, T-O-O, stupid. All right, I'll pause again. But yeah, I'm making excuses. You know, I'm pausing because I'm tired, and I'm saying, well, why should I have to keep making? You know, how do people stay this dumb? It really shouldn't be possible to be this dumb. You know, as dumb as they are in, you know, 2021. It just shouldn't be possible. Alright, back again. So, yeah, shocking. Anyway, you know, but the contest is really, so this underlies every bit of the Matrix. So, you know, I could show you Pretty Kitten. You know, I can put it on a little pedestal. Little cute kitten, and dumb people will say, "Oh, cute kitten, good." And then smarter people who know, okay, it's not free, okay, that you don't get just cute kitten in the universe. To have cute kitten, you have to go through the whole pregnant cat thing, which is sort of impositional on the poor cat. You know, doesn't have much choice in the matter. Do it over and over and over again, produce a whole bunch of these, you know, and then you have, you know, dead kitten, you know, born dead, let's say, and then you have kitten born broken, so it has to starve to death and die, and then you have kittens, you know, that make a mistake, you know, a couple of feral kittens here again, and, you know, their mum didn't show up for feeding time, and so you know, after dark they decide to go play in the street, you know, chasing bugs. And you're just like, oh, you know, you know, it's just, what are you gonna do, right? So I mean, I wasted it, you know, didn't waste. I mean, it's hard to call it a waste, but I mean, obviously it's a bunch of stress and worry. that doesn't accomplish anything. So there was a point where I gave up and just said, I'm going to quit looking at the camera and watching what the cats are doing, because I can't fix it. There's nothing I can do about it. And except acknowledge I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't invent this stupid game. So what's the price is the point. What are you paying for all of this stuff? So all of this, you know, the Olympic athlete on the pedestal, what do you pay for it? Paralyzed people. That's what you're paying by paralyzing children. It happens. Crippling them, disabling them, all this stuff, because the performance becomes more and more, it becomes, the standard of performance becomes higher and higher, and the kid doesn't even have a life anymore. His whole life is the performance, getting to the point where he could be the winner. And it's so easy to, fail. The higher you get up the staircase, the farther there is to fall. And the more likely you're going to become a drug addict and a this and a that, all these other psychological issues, because you spent your whole life chasing something. And if you don't get it, you're really going to be a mess. And then even if you get it, you're going to be a mess, because you're going to realize 2 weeks later, oh, I can't just live on that. I got to do something with the rest of my life. Oh, what do I do? Double what I did? I have to do it twice to prove I'm great, maybe 3 times. And so you're just stuck in the race, chase. You think it's going to be, this one will be the last potato chip I need to eat. And then it won't. You'll get hungry again. So I mean, it's just about seeing the reality. Getting to what's really running the game. And the game is really run on failure. It isn't run on success. It's all the, it's all the vast majority are things that won't have the enhancement, the change that makes it better. Most of us are going to be stuck with changes that are going to make it tougher and worse. And it all ends in, it's all going to be taken away anyway. You'll be stripped of perhaps every bit of your dignity, every bit of your, everything that was beautiful will become ugly, because you won't be able to see any of it, outside of the veil of your own pain and misery and fear. And, and some of those changes you can see, like I say, you get a certain age and it becomes harder and harder to relate to things, and you can't even construct a good fantasy for a good day. Oh, what's a good day? A piece of me didn't fall off. Your standards get so low, and even if you could have the fantasy life that you wanted in your youth, you wouldn't even know what to do with it now, because you already know it's all synthetic and cheap. That there won't be the last potato chip. It won't solve any real problems. It'll just occupy you for 10 minutes. You'll be entertained for 20 minutes. You'll watch it. It's the same as watching a movie or something. It'll just take up some time. In some way that's keeps your neurons triggering. But that's it. And then it'll stop triggering, and you'll say, now what? I'm not really tired enough to go to sleep, and and I'm not energetic enough to do anything, and I don't feel like doing anything, and so that's another subject, is all the different ways that that you endure the suffering. The suffering just isn't the bloody wound. The suffering isn't just the migraine headache or toothache or backache or knee ache or whatever, hip pain. The suffering can be in all these other ways where your psychology just doesn't have any will. It doesn't have any interest. It doesn't have any. It can't find a smell that triggers any kind of hunger, any interest at all. Everything looks like it's the wrong temperature. There's like no place that hey, that place looks like it's nice and warm, that kind of thing. There's no place that looks warmer or more comfortable. They all look like prison cells, you know. There's no place to go. You're just kind of trapped in, you know, mediocrity. Well, that wasn't exactly the tangent I was heading for. So again, the point is that an accurate description of reality isn't all that complicated. I mean, you just, you know, you start with, you know, it's a physical universe, got little stuff moving in it, energy. The energy gets into complex patterns. The patterns, like eddies in a stream, they can be very complex, and they can build little structures, and eventually the little structures can, you know, an electric eel, you know, can create a mechanism, and then you say, well, if we use the electricity this way, we can put it through a little system of logic gates, and, you know, we can create a computer out of that. That's essentially what nature has done with us. And you know, so we're little thinking machines, and that's a tool. Being able to think, being able to imagine, to construct a model inside of our brain of a life and a story and all that crap. And but it's all for, you know, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just hunger for the sake of hunger, and it doesn't manifest into any kind of, you solve the problem in the universe. Well, that's the other thing, though, is that what's the first thing that occurs to a thinking machine is to fix things that are in the wrong place. I mean, that's the first thing that's obvious, right? If, you know, you have a model, and then the trees are growing out of the side of your picture. Say, trees don't do that. They can't do that. So you fix it. You put the trees where they're supposed to be. It's just like doing a puzzle, and that's what our brain is designed to do, is to solve puzzles. And you know, to identify when the pieces are in the wrong order and then put them in the right order. That's, you know, that's what we do. That's the primary function of the brain. And so here there's so much about our existence that's broken. There's so much of this deserve doesn't have anything to do with it, and all that kind of crap. How can you have reward and punishment when deserve doesn't have anything to do with it, and blah blah blah. I mean, it's all so broken that, you know, that should be the acknowledgement, is how do you fix it? Well, you know, can you fix it? Is there any way to fix something that doesn't really have a function and a purpose? I mean, you've invented a machine that has to self-justify. You know, you've invented a Coke machine that likes to drink Coke. You know, I mean, it's circular, and the point is that it does it very wastefully. You know, spilling Coke all over the place. And is there any way to fix that? And it really isn't. And so you just concede that it's, you know, it's one of nature's bad ideas, not a good idea. You know, it's not part of the error code that, you know, creates an advancement in the system. The system is error code. You can't fix it, because there is no, there's nothing broken about the sterile universe. It's not in pain. It doesn't have cancer. It's doing just fine. You're not going to improve it because its function is very consistent, and it's not doing anything circular and stupid, and it's not doing any wasting. So that's sort of like one of the rules, is our brain should be able to figure out that you don't create a system where the waste is, you know, bigger than the amount of value you created. And again, we don't create any value. We just heal our own wounds, and we do it really badly. We do it incredibly inefficiently. We're the worst wonder drug ever invented. You know, because it's only a tiny percentage of our suffering that we're able to control and prevent. You know, we're not good medicine. We're not curing the universe. So it's time to let it go and recognize that it needs to be decommissioned, you know. But that's the big conclusion. But I'm arguing it's not based on very complicated facts, except acknowledging there's no hidden purpose. There's no underlying story. It's just a bug universe. It's a universe that can create bugs, and we're just bugs that can sing and dance and think. And we can use our thinking as a scheming tool just to keep being bugs, or we can use our intelligence to analyze our bug life and recognize that it isn't very functional and it's not good enough, and we're paying way too high a price for, you know, kitten or Olympic champion or wherever you're saying is a great accomplishment that humans have done something. Wherever you show me that image, I'll show you what you paid for it, and what you paid for it is going to be much more than what it's worth. And in a lot of cases, it's not worth anything. You know, I mean, the stuff you give people gold medals for is just almost, you know, it's laughably stupid. You know, jumping high, throwing a rock the furthest. I mean, it's just too stupid. So I think that's enough. I'll surrender. So, I mean, I have to find the counter arguments. I suppose that's the thing to do. So if somebody wants to provide links to great counter arguments proving that life is worth it and the price we're paying is okay, and it doesn't matter that there's all these dead kittens, you know, as the price for your successful kitten that survived to have more kittens and then have more kittens. I mean, I don't know how anybody who could call themselves empathetic couldn't, you know, look at a cat, you know, the mother cat here, for example. I mean, living in the harsh conditions and during the tough winters, you know, starving half the time, okay, half the time. And her whole gut has been so distorted, you know, it wobbles. Whether she has kittens in her or not, she's wobbling, you know, because she's been deformed by the process. And she struggles every day to do her job. I mean, how, you know, why would you want to sentence an animal to do that over and over and over again? I mean, she must have had at least 40 kittens already. You know, and most of them are dead. Okay, most of them died before maturity. She had to endure all of that. You know, all of that, you know, that the stuff that you know must viscerally bother these animals just because they're so invested in their project. But just all the panic, all the worry, all the stress, you know, all the pain, you know, all the struggle. Why would you say, let's just do that for 1 billion more years? We just keep imposing that project over and over and over. And you call yourself a nice person? You know, no, you're not a nice person. No, you're not. You suck. You're cruel. You're cruel. Sadistic. I mean, if you're ignoring something's pain, it's the same thing as liking their pain, I guess I could argue. And you have to be overtly making up some preposterously silly story to say that cat's life is good. Because it's not. You wouldn't want to live it. Anyway. Should be all that needs to be said. We are. The end image is the... Whoa, yeah. Oof, straightens you right up. You know, it's sober. It's like, that's a sobriety image. You know, it does sober you up. Anyway, so till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, I think that's, you know, not the best video, but not the worst video. Yeah, I have done worse. Anyway, till the next time.